5 minutes. The panel has made a point of noting that you don't want any information coming from this hearing that could jeopardize your negotiations for future settlements. Duly noted, but to the panel, any of the $1.7 billion that has been provided in cash to Iran, is any of that going to be used for terrorism? And can you guarantee me that that money won't be used to harm any Americans? Mr. Brackemeyer?
Congressman, thank you for your question. It's our assessment that the vast majority of the money that Iran has gotten from both this settlement as well as other...
Can you guarantee me that? That's my question. Can you guarantee this money won't be used for terrorism or to hurt Americans?
As I said, it's our assessment the vast majority has gone to the critical economic needs that Iran has had. Now, I can't speak to every dollar that's going to go in or out of Iran, as you know. But what I can tell you is that we have a variety of tools that we use to counter those activities.
I was looking for a guarantee. And so I just want to note that there is a risk that you have taken in providing $1.7 billion to the lead sponsor of terrorism in the world. I don't want to be chastised on this committee about information that could hurt your negotiations when I think this deal has endangered the security in the region and for U.S. citizens. But let's set that aside for a moment. I want to quickly talk on the issue of ransom. On the day of the prisoner for cash deal, would the prisoners have been released in your assessment if the cash was not sent, the $400 million?
Congressman, I cannot speak to that hypothetical situation, and I would make a point that this was not a prisoner for cash deal. These two issues were settled.
So you don't know. They might not have been released had you not sent the cash. Is that a fair assessment?
These two issues were settled based on their own merits.
But my question is, I'm trying to get to the heart of this. You can't tell me that you're guaranteed that our prisoners would have been released had your money not been sent, right? And maybe to put it another way, if the prisoners hadn't been released, would have we sent the money?
As I noted in my statement, Congressman, specifically after we learned that we could not locate the wife and mother of Jason Rezaian, we put a pause on making this payment, not because it was linked to that particular transaction, but because it was a prudent step.
So prudent step, but you're telling me that you wouldn't have sent the money but for the release of our prisoners. Yes? Is that a fair assessment?
I cannot speak to what we would, had this deal not come together at all in the following week, I cannot tell you that we would not have gone down that path.
Exactly.
What I can tell you,
the point that is most common sense Americans look at this and they say, hey, this was a payment of $400 million for the release of 5 prisoners, which in everyone's assessment leads us to believe that, as the chairman noted, per Webster's dictionary, is a ransom payment. Let's leave that aside. I'm sure my colleagues will get to that a little bit later. Out of the tribunal, there's been settlements in the past, and have those settlements all been made in cash? Ms. Grosch?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Every single settlement.
My experience has been that every single one of these settlements has been sui generis. Most of the settlements that were made in the past were before sanctions.
So
and in fact, before...
I only have 2 minutes, but to be clear, when we've had settlements, the payments to Iran have been made in cash payments, not wire transfers, not checks, not any other form. It's a cash payment, like what we did with the $1.7 billion. Is that fair?
I am not aware that they ever have, but they have all been different and been done on their own merit. Some were done by checks, some were done by wire transfers.
Right, so that's my point. So this payment did not have to be made in cash. The payment could have been made in the form that others were made, whether it was a check or a wire transfer. You were not prohibited from using a wire transfer or a check. You didn't have to send cash, is my point. Is that correct?
I can't really, speak to that. I do know that Iran was having very serious banking problems because of sanctions, and I think my colleague can speak more to that.
You've used wire transfers and checks in the past, yes?
Well, we've used checks in the past, but to my knowledge, Treasury doesn't cut checks anymore.
So if the president says due to international sanctions against Iran, the payment made in euro and Swiss francs and other currencies had to be made in cash, you're telling me that, no, that's not true. We've actually made other forms of payment through the tribunal.
Congressman, I can speak to that. Sure. These other payments were before the period of the intense international sanctions that we had on Iran, those sanctions that we worked closely with this Congress to implement.
So you put the handcuffs on yourself at the... I want to make a couple quick questions. Did Iran request the money come in cash payment?
The terms of this deal for Iran were that they would get an immediate refund of the principal. For them, the critical need was that they got immediate access so that they could address the critical economic needs that they had. And at the time, our people
So
that were facilitating these transactions felt that the
So-
only way to provide that immediate payment.
They didn't
was
ask for
through
cash,
the-
but you
through this
made sure
mechanism.
that they got this money, the 400 and the 1.3 billion. They get immediate access to it. It's untraceable. And per media reports, this money has gone to the military, not for the benefit of the Iranian people. My time is up, and I now recognize the ranking member of the full committee, the gentlelady from California, Ms. Waters, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to thank our witnesses for being here today.